Welcome to Hurts So Good. I'm your host, Orsy. And on this podcast, we're going to be exploring with ultra athletes, endurance athletes, what it takes, not just physically, but more importantly, mentally, to do these long adventure races. What ultra athletes put themselves through is physically demanding and painful, but there has to be something on the other side that makes it all worth it. So let's explore what makes it hurt so good. Today, we're welcoming Evan Birch. He's an ultra runner, a coach, a podcaster, and a mental health advocate. That's the word. How are you doing, Evan?
Good. How are you doing, Orsy?
I'm doing good. I fangirled yesterday. I didn't know I would because I watched Supernova, the film you made about running with your dog, and I was super impressed. Like the quality of the filmmaking is like really excellent. How did that film come together?
Yeah, we'll take it back. I'll say it was a selfish opportunity for me to film something with my dog. That's all it was ever meant to be. It wasn't ever meant to be this film that has ended up moving into film festivals all over the world, which has blown our mind. But I think that's how some of the best things in life happen, is when you don't expect them to. So yeah, it actually started with one of the film makers, Lucas. He actually reached out because of the mental health advocacy work that I've done in the past, and he was big into that as well. He had done some work for brands and other things. He was living in Montreal at the time, and he just reached out to me and said, "Hey, I think there's something we could do together. Don't know what it is, but let's just connect. I love what you're doing in the space." So we met, and we both realized how much we loved dogs. And I told him this idea that I had in the back of my mind of wanting to attempt a 100-miler with Nova. And from there, it literally spun off into creating a pitch deck, going to some of the brands that I work with, and trying to put something together. It was only supposed to be like a 4-minute video was kind of the idea at the start of everything. And then it snowballed into, this kind of mini short feature documentary that turned into what it is today. And I mean, it's still look back at it and I just go like, all it took was just one simple conversation that has now spanned a period of, over 2 years of us building all this together. So
It is. It's this really beautiful love letter between like Nova and you and your wife. Like the relationship is so beautiful between the three of you. Like it was really touching. Like I know you from racing, like we've raced together a couple times, but I don't know if I had like seen that side of you. Like I was really moved by it. It was really great.
yeah, and the best part about it is Lucas and his the other filmmaker on the team, Tommy, or they're really good friends. And the first time we ever met in person was literally race weekend for them to do the filming. So when you look at the film and you look at what they were able to capture in, again, my relationship with my wife Cassie, our bond with the dog, with Nova, for them to be able to capture that in a weekend of really us meeting us for the first time. And really, I mean, if when Cassie and I look back on it all the time, we just laugh. Like they knew what to capture of us and how our relationship is, which just blows my mind. We didn't have funding for the film until 2 weeks before the actual filming. Like we had them on standby. We didn't know if we were going to get the funding, and a couple of the brands came through in a bigger way that we had kind of reached out to because we said we were having issues, and like this film might not have happened. And I think I still would have done it with the dog, and we maybe would have captured a few things, but the likelihood of it happening was like 2 weeks out was almost non-existent.
The filmmaking background, that's why it like stood out to me because it isn't your average YouTube video. Like it is really, really well. Like it is. I would call it a short film versus like a YouTube doc just because of the quality of it. It was really great. Did you get Nova right around the time you started ultra running?
Yeah, so yes and no. It was right after. So I played soccer my whole life, from the time I was 5 until age 30. And I kind of hit 30 and I went, you know what? I've played team sports my entire life. Like soccer was my thing. I played like high school sports and junior high sports, but on teams and higher level, I never played anything else other than soccer. And I decided I wanted to do something for myself. So I jumped into off-road triathlons in 2014. I signed up for like 5 half-distance off-road triathlons, having really never competitively swam or anything. Hated the water, hated the open water swimming.
I hate the Water too.
It was not for me. Getting kicked in the face and legs sinking and even the wetsuit, it just was not for me. That I started to fall in love with the longer distance of the trail runs. I had done Five Peaks trail runs. Man, this is probably 20 years ago is when my first Five Peaks trail run was. So I've been in the running space for a long time and kind of short distance, along with the soccer and then those shorter trail runs. But moving into those off-road triathlons and getting into the runs, I knew there was something else there. So I signed up for a couple of shorter distances through one of the days at the Golden Ultra, and I think that was the longest one I had done solo. That was about 30K, and then I was like, I'm hooked. Like I want a dog that I can go running with, and this would have been like 2015, 2016 that I was really kind of figuring out what I wanted. And then, yeah, I got Nova in 2017, in August of 2017.
Hungarian Vishla.
Yes.
That's what Victoria Brown had. She was one of our guests. And she's like, I think her ultra running is taking a different shape now because she has a dog to run with. It's exciting. I watched your other film, Running Forward, and you talk about the distinction of like running away and doing a lot of running to run away, but then like running towards something. So where do you think that switch flipped, where you went from like one thing to another?
Yeah, so just a little bit of background. So I've been in emergency services for basically 2 decades, maybe a little bit more now. But I started in it when I was 18, very young, working for Stars Air Ambulance in the dispatch center. And I worked my way through, worked there for 12 years. Then I went over to 911 here in the city of Calgary and worked there for 9 years, a little bit of an overlap in between. And I think it was one of those things that I subconsciously was starting to increase running mileage through like 2017, 2018. 2019 was like my true first ultra distance, was Iron Legs mountain races in a local race here in Kananaskis, just outside of Calgary. And that was kind of my first like true long distance all by itself. And I didn't realize that if I were to look on a timeline and put, my career on a map and put the running on a map and, tried to connect the dots, everything was in like true alignment with how everything was happening and what I was experiencing in my life. And, but all subconscious. I didn't really know why I was doing it or why I loved it so much. It wasn't until I decided that I went through pretty hard time after I was kind of off work after, I was working from home through COVID. I got offered a position that took me out of shift work that I'd been doing for 16 years. And I was working Monday to Friday from home now, helping with the Emergency Response Coordination Center with regards to everything that was happening during all the lockdowns and everything and all the restrictions. And I was kind of helping manage that for the city of Calgary and coordinating all those pieces. And I was asked to go back to the office. We were a little bit short staffed, so we were in the office. And that's when everything kind of hit me after being in the industry for so long and then being away from it for such a long period of time, getting a baseline back again and being able to figure out how it affected me. Moving back into the dispatch center, all the noises, all the sounds, all the lights, all the pieces that you would think that over the career, I was pretty good at handling it, I'll say. But now I realize that it was just me like stuffing it down and kind of using the running as a way to push around it rather than deal with it. But then I went through some panic attacks and some sleepless nights over a period of 3 months and just realized that there's a lot of stuff that I hadn't dealt with. And I decided to ask for help at the end of December 2021. And then those first 6 months of therapy and being off of work and taking care of myself in a different way, I started to see the pattern of what that running piece was for me. And I had to make a choice of, do I want to keep running and can I do it from a healthy place, or was running always a negative and is there something else I should be moving towards?
It's interesting because a lot of people talk about using running as something, to run away from. And I think the fact that you were able to couple the running with the therapy is so powerful, because running isn't therapy. It can help you process. It has helped me process things, but it certainly isn't therapy. It is something else. And a lot of times people just like use it because it's convenient, especially in like the ultra, I think, when you can run away for such a long period of time and you can kind of connect for such long periods of times. So that's really powerful. I love that you share it and you talk about it. It's not something that you hear a lot of like men talk about. So what inspired you to share? Because you are sharing in a really big way. You have your podcast, you're a speaker, like you're really advocating.
Yeah, I think I got to the place where, what's the best way to describe this? I got to a place where everything that I experienced and everything that I had gone through myself, I started asking questions like, there's no way that it's just me. Because in the beginning, you think that you are like man on an island all by yourself. Nobody else is experiencing what you're experiencing. And then you start to uncover the layers and you start to heal and you start to challenge the beliefs and the stories that you've created for yourself. And you start to see things in other people. And for me, as I started to see things in other people, I started to recognize that, man, like there are so many more people that are experiencing what I have experienced. And I think trauma is one of those things that people need to understand, that everybody's trauma is valid. There is no, that shouldn't have happened, or you shouldn't feel that way. Doesn't matter what you've experienced or what you've gone through, just because, like, yes, our traumas are going to be different, but the feelings in our body and the experiences that we have can be very similar. And I think being able to speak about that in a way that makes it approachable for other people to access that part of them that maybe they have stuffed down themselves, I think was a big reason why I started speaking about it. And then also, I mean, as you said, running is not therapy. It is therapeutic. There's no doubt. But running can only manage the symptoms. It can't deal with the why. And I think that's the part of that, like running away and running from your problems and the things that people talk about, is you're not actually dealing with anything. You're just masking the symptoms of whatever you've experienced in your life and what you've gone through. And I mean, it doesn't even have to be like trauma. It could be alcohol. It could be addiction. It could be gambling. It could be whatever it is. All those are symptoms of other things that people haven't been able to meet within themselves. And if my voice and my story can allow people to see things in a different way, and for me to be able to bring people on my podcast and have them share their stories in a way that somebody can look at it and go, man, I can see myself in their story. That to me is so powerful, when you can relate to somebody in a way that you can see yourself in it and start to work through those pieces on your own.
Do you think though that you just said running is therapeutic? Do you think that you were able to hold it together for so long and function at such a high level because you had running during that time?
Absolutely. I think the ability to, like, I'll say, physically exhaust yourself to the point where if I was having trouble sleeping, well, now if I can physically exhaust myself to the point of being so tired that all of the other pieces don't come into effect, because I can just sleep because I'm so tired from, whether or not I, went for a 6-hour run, and normally I would have a really rough night's sleep. But now I've ran, and now I'm just so tired that my body just naturally just has to figure out a way to fall asleep. Because that's the thing. People think that you choose to sleep, but sleep is something that just happens to you. It's something that, like, chemically within your body, it's something that happens. You don't choose. You might be able to choose like when you want to go to bed, or if you get sleepy or tired, but you're not actually choosing when you fall asleep. And I think that's the piece for that. And I mean, like, when I was going through all the health stuff with the panic attacks and the PTSD and all those other pieces that I was eventually diagnosed with, I had stopped running for 3 months. And that's how I really knew that something was, like, terribly wrong during that period of time before I asked for help. That the fact that I didn't even want to run or didn't have the ability to, and then not having that, that's when all the sleep disruptions just, like, hit full force. So I think there's definitely a level of symptom management in it. But again, it doesn't deal with the why. And that is the piece that will haunt you for a very, very long time if you don't have the ability to speak about it.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's an interesting space, and I want to talk about some of your running, which is really awesome, and I want to
Yeah.
talk about your running
Yeah.
mindset. But just to like sort of cap this, it's so interesting because there's so many like addicts and that are attracted to the ultra space, and a lot of times they get criticized, like Like they exchange one addiction for another because ultra running can kind of be like addictive in nature, always chasing bigger and bigger things. I don't know, just an interesting space. Do you think that those people, do you think of it as like exchanging one addiction for another, or do you think of it as something else?
I think there's definitely, I mean, I think we'd be, I guess, crazy to think that there's not that happening in the sport. You see so many people come into the sport for, let's say, a very short period of time. They are running so much mileage. Maybe they have one or two really amazing races, and then they're gone out of the sport. And you start to look at like, what is the reason why? Like, are they the sustainability aspect of operating at that level? Especially, again, I did so much like one-on-one therapy. Like, we're talking, I'm willing to say I've probably had over 200 therapy sessions in the last 4 years through different various modalities. The main one being accelerated resolution therapy, which is similar to EMDR therapy for those that know, like rapid eye hand movement, but it's essentially EMDR therapy on steroids. It's, you have to deal with it in the moment, and you can't have more than 48 hours between sessions because you kind of leave things open, and it leaves you in a very vulnerable position when you're going through it. But I really feel for the individuals that swap one for the other and don't see how, again, the running and the therapy together combined could be even more powerful than just the running alone. And again, it's a scary thought for people to ask for help. Like, that was one of the hardest days I've ever had in my life to, sit down with my wife and say, like, I can't do this by myself. Somebody who's been in the industry for 20 years, who everybody always thought was this like unbreakable person. Like, nothing ever phases you. You're always on top of your game. And honestly, those are the people that are probably hurting the most.
I mean, you do come across so professional and put together. Like, even doing the research on you compared to other people, like your website is so meticulous. Like, everything you do has like a polish to it that, because it's not your full-time job. Like, yes, you're an influencer, and yes, you're like an ambassador for all these companies, but it's not your job, right? And considering it's not your job, it's super polished. Like,
Yeah,
there's definitely some perfectionism there.
absolutely. There is no doubt there is a level of, I'll say, that level of control that I've, when I went off and asked for that help, all of my autonomy, my control, my confidence, all of those pieces literally just crumbled beneath my feet, because the one big thing is I defined myself by my job for my entire kind of adult life. I started when I was 18. I had always worked with people that were 10 years older than me. I was always this, old soul, this, young kid working with all these older people all the time. So I had to grow up fast. And I think people don't realize that, the male brain doesn't fully develop until, age 26, 27. So I grew up in trauma, like literally hearing people's worst days on repeat all the time. And I think that's in a way, did it harden me? Absolutely. Did it make me less empathetic in some ways? Absolutely. But when that identity was gone and I had to ask for help and everything crumbled underneath of me, that's the risk that people run when you start tying yourself to what you do. Because if you are only what you do, then when that thing falls away, like, who are you? What's left? And that is the biggest piece. And I'm still trying to figure out that piece for myself. And I'm trying different things, and I'm doing all these, different endeavors and these documentaries and these runs and work and school and all these other pieces. Like, I'm trying so many different things because I'm still looking to figure out, like, who am I?
Where does breath work fit into that puzzle? Because it seems to be like a big part of what you do now.
Yeah, it's something that my coach, Ray Zahab, for those that don't know him, he's a kind of very kind of decorated ultra runner within the Canadian ultra running space. He's also an adventurer and explorer, and does crazy stuff like Baffin Island crossings and Atacama Desert crossings. And he's definitely the perfect person for me in the distances and things that I run. But he introduced me to the nasal breathing breath work, the oxygen advantage training that I eventually did get about 4 to 5 years ago. And I really latched onto it. It's essentially teaching your body to become more efficient with the oxygen and the CO2 that your body needs to be able to function at a high level. And I've also used it for, again, the PTSD, the depression, the anxiety, all these other pieces. It's your everyday breathing versus, for those that understand like what Wim Hof breathing is, it's very, I'll say, it kind of like amps you up, whereas the oxygen advantage breathing kind of brings you down and keeps you at like a baseline level that you can operate, 95% of the time. It helps with sleep. It helps with so many different things, asthma and sleep apnea. There's so many different aspects to it, but the actual breath work itself, I've dabbled a little bit with some of the runners that I coach, and they've noticed some definite positives out of it. I've worked with some people one-on-one who've anxiety, asthma, those types of things. But your breath is just so unbelievably powerful. And people just think that you don't have to think about breathing. It just does it for me. I don't have to think about it. Yes, biologically, sure. But if you have the ability to have the awareness of your own breath, it's with you all the time. It is like something you have an ultimate control over if you just have the ability to slow down and focus a little bit. And I think that's the powerful thing for me, is like your breath is always with you. It's the one thing that binds us all together. If you stop doing it, you won't be here.
Yeah. No, it's life, right? The first breath, last breath, absolutely. And it's so meditative, right? Like meditation always comes down to like being aware of your breath.
Yeah, absolutely.
The reason I asked you to be on the podcast was because I had this curiosity. Because I remember us running together, BC Backyard Ultra 2022, and then running together in 2024. And something in your mindset was so different between 2022 and 2024. Like 2022, you did 24 hours. I did 24 hours. 2024, you did 33 hours, however. And you were being super competitive, and you had just come back from doing the speed project where you came in sixth. You ran from LA to Las Vegas, 464 kilometers. You had done the Divide 200. Like, there was a confidence, and I don't know what it was, but there was just something so different in your mindset. And it was very, just from the little bit of interaction we've had, it was so obvious. And I'm curious, what took you from 2022 to 2024? Because it was just different.
Yeah, I think it's that switch that you're talking about, that big switch of running away and now running forward towards the life that I wanted and that I thought I could have. And there was a lot of change during those 2 years. I mean, I essentially couldn't go back to my career that had done for 20 years and had to figure out what was next, and going through the system of waiting for a potential position to deciding whether or not I was going to go back to school. There were so many moving pieces in those 2 years. And it's like, when I say therapy, like so much therapy, the first 6 months, all I tried to do was be the best patient ever. I was so competitive. I was like, I am going to be like, I am going to win at therapy. And that was my mentality. And I've said it a few times, and that's kind of been my tagline, is like, that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to win at therapy, and there is no finish line in therapy. Let's just be clear for everybody. There is no finish line in therapy. It is a constant growth and change all the time, because as you're going through, and this is something I just actually literally just realized the other day, the person that I was when I went into therapy and all the things that I thought I could have or could want. And now I sit here, over 4 years later going, I am such a different person. And the things that I thought I wanted, let's say between 2022 and 2024 are so different now, because I can have so much more than I thought that I could, because I was limiting myself. But every single day was just like this growth and the potential for something more than I ever thought possible. And I think that's the part that I kind of latched onto, was if I'm going through this and I'm healing, I'm taking care of myself, and I'm looking towards all these other things, like the world is like, there is no absolute. Nothing is impossible at this point, because if I just keep growing, then the thought of all of these things that I could potentially have or go and do is just going to expand exponentially alongside the healing. But you don't see it when you're in it. And I think that's the part that is really hard to grasp, because it's such an intangible thing. It's in your subconscious. This mindset piece of how do you figure out what that next thing is, and do you even need to worry about that when you just have to be there today. And that was really probably the biggest thing, is that presence piece that I really latched onto.
I'm curious, like your mindset during an ultra, like let's think the speed project or backyard, the divide, whatever. What is your internal dialogue while you're like in a hard spot during?
Yeah, my mentality is always about being where my feet are, problem solving, and understanding that I have all the tools to manage whatever gets thrown at me, whether that be good, whether that be bad, but I have the capability. And I think just understanding that I already am walking into there knowing that no matter what comes at me, I will be able to figure it out. And if I can't, then that's usually when the race basically says, like, okay, you're done. And that's, you know what I mean? Like at that point, like I lost so much autonomy and control in the existence that I had with my career, that running gives me this ability to have like complete autonomy and control over what I'm choosing. And I think that's the beautiful part about it, is we are a collection of our choices, not a result of our circumstances. Everything that happened in my career, all of those pieces, I could be the victim. I could be the person that said like, oh, woe is me, like this job destroyed me, and now I'm going to identify myself as this, survivor or victim of PTSD for the rest of my life. I could choose that path. I chose to go on the other side of it and go, you know what, that happened to me, but I get to choose what comes next. I ultimately get the choice. And that's no different in any ultra, whether it be 464 kilometers, 50 kilometers, a 5K run, a 1K run. You get to choose whether you keep going or not. It's like agency is huge when it comes to that for me.
What's your relationship to physical pain? 'Cause some of these ultras, like they're just painful. It's like the end. It's like part of it. Like, what's your relationship with?
Yeah, it's one of those things of not giving pain a voice and understanding that Jody Dalk, one of my running friends here in Calgary, I don't know if you know the Dalk brothers or not. The three of them are incredible runners, and they've podiumed in a death race. James, one of the other brothers I just ran with, he's won 250Ks this year already. And Jody has this phrase of "this too shall pass," in the sense of you might feel like really something might be so unbelievably painful. This too shall pass. You might be feeling incredible. You might be having the climb of your life. This too shall pass. And understanding that it's going to ebb and flow like a wave, and you have no idea where you're going to end up in an hour from now, 2 hours from now. So what's the point of worrying about the pain or the aspect of that, and just understanding like you can lock in and move through the pain, acknowledge it, don't push it away. The more you give it a voice, the louder it's going to get. And to me, like we choose these things. Like nobody's telling us to go and run, LA to Vegas. Like nobody told me to go do that. I chose that. And this idea, I know it gets thrown around a lot, this idea of suffering when it comes to ultra running. I don't believe that any ultra running is suffering unless you're completely injured and you should stop, but you don't. Okay, now you're like, that's like bad suffering in my mind. But to me, it's not suffering. Like you're choosing this. You can't choose suffering. Suffering is like my family member passing away, somebody getting cancer close to me getting sick, like whatever it is, that's true suffering. Other than that, like you're just, you have to like be with the pain and acknowledge and accept it and move with it rather than against it.
It's like a sign of self mastery. Like, I'm not sure that I always have this skill, but like the people I've interviewed, they do. Like, they all sort of say the same thing. They are able to kind of separate themselves from it rather than like have it be like a wave that crashes on them. Cause I think sometimes it's like a wave that crashes on me. So I think that has a lot to do with like your ability to, I don't know, just manage your emotions, right? Like I do. I think it's like self mastery. Like I really respect that.
Yeah,
Want to try to remember it next
it's
time I'm there.
the best way I can describe it, and it happened to me a few times during the speed project. It's almost like you have this out of body experience, and whether you want to call it flow state, whatever words you want to associate with it, but it's almost as if I'm viewing myself from above and looking down on what I'm going through. And I'm trying to analyze it from that perspective rather than being the person that's going through it. I get to, go out and have that little bit of out of body experience and be like, okay, like that looks like it hurts. I recognize that's something you're working through. Like what can you do to work through this? And I think that's the thing for me is as soon as you start making statements, and this is the thing that buries a lot of people when it comes to ultras. I mean, aside from, nutrition and gut issues, which everybody experiences at some point, I'm sure, but being able to ask questions and not make statements is massive, because as soon as you start making statements of my foot hurts, this sucks, I'm tired, I'm hot, I'm hungry. Now you're just making statements and none of that is going to help you. It's only going to bury you even further. So if you can ask questions, okay, I'm hungry. What can I eat? When is the next aid station? Can I ask somebody that I'm running with if they have an extra bar? Like, you start to problem solve a lot more, and it takes you out of your head and into your body. And I think that's the part like that gets people really stuck, is when they get too heady and they get stuck there, rather than like going down and in is the best way I can describe it, is get out of your head. Like, you have to get out of your head.
I remember in 2022, I was running with Jordy and Brandon a lot, and we used to just like look at each other kind of rough and just be like, I never get tired. And then somebody else would say, I love this. And like, we clearly didn't love it. But
Yeah.
like even vocalizing that made us laugh and kind of like pushes you out of that kind of like meth state.
Absolutely. Your body, what you tell yourself is what you're going to believe. And that, from a coaching perspective, for me, I'm very big in the mindset side of things with all the athletes that I coach. And that's a huge piece of it, because you don't have this body of evidence that you've created for yourself of, I can get through something like this. So what's the only way to figure that out then? Well, you have to speak it into existence before you've already done it. And I think that's the key. And I use this one a lot now, is rather than asking yourself before you start a race, like, how do I want to feel during the race? Like, how do I want to start to think about how you want to feel at that start line? That's way more important of how do you want to show up for yourself before you start, because that's the thing that you're going to be able to lean on during the race and be like, no, like, I told myself that I was going to show up and I was going to be here, and I was going to be present, and I was going to take it things as they came. And you have something to go back to now, instead of, I want to feel, by 50K, I want to be feeling like I'm just starting. Okay, well, that's not going to help you during the race. You have nothing to like get back to. And that comes back to the whole why thing of, think about your why, those types of things. But I really think about, like, you have to start to understand how your body feels and how you want it to feel and how you want to show up for yourself. That to me is way more important than anything. The why you don't have to have this big giant why of why you're doing it. You don't. I think that's a myth. I think you just need to understand how you feel at that start line is going to be what you can come back to every single time.
Yeah, I agree. Like during a race, asking myself why I'm doing it. Like, you're there, you're doing it.
Yeah, you already chose it.
Yeah. But I think in the long term, the why is like really interesting. Like, why keep signing up year after year for these like really big adventures when you've proven to yourself that you can? So it's not about that. So there has to be like a grander why in the end to, do things like this for a decade or plus, right? Do you know why you are drawn to this or keep doing it?
Yeah, I mean, that was where that switch flipped for me, where I'd ask myself, do I want to keep doing this? And that was kind of the impetus of that first documentary that I did with my friend Dylan Leader, kind of documenting that 2023 season when I was doing Divide 200 for the first time. That was my first 200 miler. And that was kind of the year of me figuring out, is this something that I want to keep doing, and why do I want to keep doing it? And ultimately, for me, it's a growth tool. It is, you can expedite the amount of learning and growth about yourself in a very short period of time doing an ultra. I mean, throw a 200 miler in, you just multiply that by 4, and you can learn so much in such a condensed amount of time. The key is making sure that you take the time to reflect and actually bring those things into your life. And that to me is the ultimate reason for me of why I do it, is the growth aspect. I learned so much about myself and what I'm capable of during these races that I have a business advisor that I work with, and she said this said one thing to me when I was going through kind of everything and figuring out distances, and she's like, I somebody who has the ability to run the distances that you run and come out of them and want to do it again is somebody that could be unstoppable in business if you can apply the lessons that you're learning while you're doing these things. Like there's no reason why you can't. And the only reason why you're not is because you're telling yourself a story that you can't.
Hmm.
And I think that's what I've taken into my run coaching and all the other aspects and, starting school again at age 40. So it's those things of understanding that, life is too short to only do one thing. And I'm not going to do that again because it broke me in a way that I've now realized that I'm like, there's so much possibility and so much abundance and so many things that I can do out there. Yeah, that's my why is growth, personal growth.
I get that. What are you studying now?
I am doing my master's in disaster and emergency management.
Sounds light and fluffy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it definitely forays into the stuff that I did before, but it's very much that same thing of when I talk about like taking yourself out and going above everything and looking at it from the top down. They it's not necessarily teaching about, how to manage a flood in a city. It's how do you like look above everything and see, 10 years prior, what could you have done to mitigate the issues of that flood that hit the city? And I think it's that like really zoomed out view of going like, how can we impact this in a greater way? And I think about that with the running. So again, all of these things that I'm doing, they're all intertwined. There's no doubt in my mind why I'm doing them and how it's working for me. So I'm just taking all of the lessons from both things that I'm doing and putting them into practice. So
When you say business coaching, are you grow your coaching business or is there another business outside of that?
yeah, there's definitely a desire to. I kind of cap myself at a certain number of athletes just because of the way that I coach. I'm a very hands-on, as you can hear from the stuff that I talk about. I'm not the type of set it and forget it. Here's a plan and don't talk to me for a week. I'm very hands-on. I do whatever I can to support the athletes that I'm working with and in all realms, whether I want to know about your family, I want to know what your cat's name is, I want to know what your kids' names are, I want to know all of those things because it's so important to understand somebody as a total like human athlete and not just throw a plan at them and hope that they're going to follow. So for me, it's one of those things that I'm trying to decide whether or not, do I take on a few more athletes and how does that look if I dedicate more time to that? I mean, I'm looking at starting some races as well too, which will be kind of foray into race directing stuff. There's one that's going to be coming in October. I can't announce it yet, but that'll be
Exciting.
might be one that's up your alley. We'll see.
Yep.
You might, yeah. But yeah, just those types of things. And then obviously with the school and stuff that I'm doing and figuring out, is there a way to merge those in with the, endurance community as a whole? I mean, disaster emergency management can hit any industry, but the endurance world and sports and I've seen it firsthand what it's like to be in the, middle of the backcountry on a 200 miler with nobody around you. And yeah, there's a lot of pieces that could be tied into it. I'm still trying to figure those out, but yeah, long term, that's kind of my vision is try to tie everything together and I still want running to be something I enjoy. I don't want it to become like everything for me because that obviously didn't work out for me with the last thing. And I'm very keenly aware of that. And that's why I'm just trying to keep my hands in as many things as I can to just figure out what that kind of next move is and just being okay with whatever it is and not having any sort of expectations of where I'm going to go with it.
Yeah. You posted maybe 6 months ago. I can't remember exactly. I remember being really moved by it. I think like post Tahoe 200 DNF, like I think some time off. And you talked about in that post about like gaining weight and how that was affecting your body image. And again, not something that you see on Instagram a lot. And, it's not like body image. Like you sometimes see women talking about it, but even that, like not enough. And certainly I haven't seen any sort of like male athlete post about that. So I was really moved by it, by the openness and the vulnerability of it all. And yeah, just curious what made you want to share.
Yeah, that one was doing the podcast with my friend Jason, our Enduring Minds podcast. He is very open about his disordered eating and other things that he's experienced through his triathlons. And honestly, I think if it wasn't for my connection with Jason, it probably wouldn't have been something that I would have felt as comfortable talking about. DNFing at Tahoe last year, for those that I've told the story a few times, but I rolled my ankle 10 kilometers into a 200-mile race, Tahoe 200. I ran on it for about 10K, got to an aid station, decided that, hey, you know what? I can walk to the next aid station if I absolutely have to, but I need to see this through to see if I can keep going. And I ended up taping it up. It just got worse. I had to pull out of the race. The most expensive per mile or per kilometer race I've ever been a part of.
Can imagine.
Yeah, with all the
are not.
no, plus the travel down there in Tahoe is not cheap to say. So, but the subsequent time off, I found out I tore the ATFL ligament in my ankle. So I had a period of time off from that. Started to recover as best I could. I'm not much of a I don't love the bike, so it was really difficult for me. I just kind of shut things down, which in the big scheme of things probably wasn't the best move, but I was still eating the way I was eating when I was still training like I was training before. And I mean, I had just turned 40 in August, and I was probably going to Tahoe. I mean, not that numbers matter, but I was like 160, 165 pounds going into Tahoe. And I had always been that weight for pretty much my whole adult life. I could eat whatever I wanted when I wanted. But for some reason, this time my body was just like, nope, I'm going to just start like just slamming on the extra weight on you. And again, I wasn't getting too tied up with the number. It was more how I felt in my body and how I looked. And it was very like a huge shell shock for somebody who's been this like skinny, lean kid his entire life, all the way even through like junior high, high school. I've never been that one that's been like worried about what I could eat or what I shouldn't eat. So being able to speak about that as somebody who took time off and I was very dedicated to my training and all those other pieces. So to share something like that was difficult, but I knew it was one of those things I've already shared so much about my story, and I've had so many people reach out and so many amazing comments from people that were moved by my story or helped them change something. And I'm like, why not? Like, who cares? Like, it doesn't really, this is more, again, one of those things where it's like, it's for me, but I know it's going to reach other people. And yeah, sharing it definitely, it felt like a big step. But I mean, again, having my connection with my friend Jason, him being open about it was what allowed me to do it. So I think, and again, that like, you're not alone piece. There's so many other people that experience it. And even I had a few other guys reach out that were like, I'm talking like very influential in the ultra running space, that are just like, man, like I'm going through the exact same thing right now. And to me, that's why these things are so powerful, because as soon as somebody else goes like, oh man, like that person's willing to talk about that, like, oof, I'm still afraid to do it myself, but I'm going to send them a message. Like that's amazing. Like, I think it's beautiful to be able to share that, especially that male centric view of like eating and all those other pieces that you don't hear people talk about in a big way. It's super important, I think, to be able to share those things. And again, alongside all the mental health stuff as well too.
Yeah. I think that like the ultra space is such a welcoming space, and we don't like really talk about like weight or body image that much, but there's still that underlying thing. Like most bodies on start lines are really lean. Like, it's just like, it's a thing. I'm so much bigger now than I was when I started running. And sometimes it's like really confronting and you're like, whoa.
Yeah. I say my wife was she's, former Team Canada skeleton athlete for 10 years, very high level competition sport. And the way that she put it to me after I was kind of experiencing going through it and trying to get back into the gym and try to, lose some weight when I was kind of later in, it was probably 4 or 5 months after I was just trying to get back in the gym and do something because I couldn't really run very much yet. And she's like, maybe like this is the body that you like were meant to have now. Like, what do you mean? And she goes, well, when you were going through all your health stuff with your mental health for the last 3 to 4 years, and you were, running as much as you were, maybe you weren't fueling and taking care of your body in the way that you could have because your mind was what was needing to be taken care of. And she's like, maybe now this is an opportunity for you to like step into the body that is actually going to be even more powerful and be able to do things that are even bigger than what you thought. And again, coming back to that thing I said before of, I thought I would just, run 200-mile events and this is amazing. And then I started pushing it further, and now I'm even thinking further, and I'm going like, yeah, like I'm building this like durable body to be able to perform the way that I want it to, and recognizing that like the number doesn't matter. How I look and how I feel, maybe even how I look doesn't even matter, but how I feel in my body, that's like, if I can feel amazing in my body and the outside to everybody else doesn't look that way, I don't care. Like it's one of those things of being able to flip that and go like, I need this body to do the things that I want to do. And whatever that looks like is what it's going to look like.
Yeah. I'm curious, like, I mean, I haven't run a 200 miler. I'm actually not that interested in running a 200 miler. The sleep deprivation is like such a turnoff for me. But what are you thinking about? Like when you're saying like longer than, like, I'm so curious. Are there some crazy FKT? Because races don't get much longer than that.
Yeah. There's definitely a desire to go back to speed project with again, a body that is in a better condition to be able to manage the demands of it and understanding what that experience is like. So there's definitely a desire to potentially do that again. I won't even say potentially, there's a desire to do that again. They have a couple of other races. They do one in France and they do another one in Chile as well. A little bit different distances and different terrain, but those are definitely on the list of my mind. I haven't voiced this one very loudly yet, but there is a 6-day race at the end of December across the years in Arizona
Okay.
that I'm looking at. So that one's definitely of interest to me to see how far I could go over a period of 6 days. Because sleep deprivation, you talk about it, and I've never had an issue with the sleeping side of things. I've never hallucinated during any of my big runs. I've ran on very minimal sleep. Like speed project for LA to Vegas was 94 hours and 5 hours of sleep. Both of my races at Divide were 82 and 83 hours with maybe 5 to 6 hours of sleep each at the most. So sleep deprivation I won't say it doesn't affect me, but it doesn't hit me as hard as what it does for a lot of people. So there's lots of other bigger ideas that I've, discussed or had options for, but there's definitely some desire to do some of the stuff like my mentor and coach Ray has done with some of these bigger crossings or these bigger kind of individual opportunities, maybe not necessarily in the structured racing format, but really, again, because for me, it's when it comes down to, it's not about the accolades, it's not about hitting a podium, it's not about, locking down a sponsor for, a 3-year deal. I don't even know if my life could sustain that with, having 2 kids and family, and could I even meet what the sponsor would want from a racing perspective? I don't even know. I'm not sure, but there's definitely a desire to see how far my body can go in certain distances for sure. Badwater is definitely on the list. Badwater is definitely that one's top of mind for me over the next few years, I think.
I wish I could remember the name of the book. It was not that long ago. I was listening to Single Track podcast and they had some historian on and they were talking about the history of the 6-day race. And it's actually like the 6-day race used to be like a big deal.
Yeah.
Like historically, like ultra running is like actually really long, like it sort of went away, come back. But yeah, 6-day racing has a really long history. It's really fascinating. People would come and watch too, right? Like people go
Yeah.
and they come back and
Yeah,
they
it was a spectator sport, and I think
yeah.
I think the original one, I'm pretty sure it dates back to the UK somewhere in like the 1700s,
Yes,
which
something.
is and it wasn't called ultra running, it was called pedestrianism.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's this understanding that it's like, why would you come out and watch somebody run around like 2 city blocks for 6 days? But there was like bleachers and there was fans and yeah, so there's a lot of interesting history to it. And I think that's the cool thing about it is it's not just, somebody creating a 200-mile race. There's no history on 200-mile races other than like modern day. But the cool thing about the 6-day is like there is actually some like real history behind these races, which I think to me is kind of cool as well too. I'm not a huge history buff, but I like the idea of being a part of something that's been around for a long period of time.
Yeah. And those runners were like the Michael Jordans of their time. Like they were like really celebrated and famous. It's like interesting to think that ultra running, which now, is like such a small thing in sport, was like once like such a huge thing.
Yeah, and I mean, my mentality now kind of fits the 6-day race anyways, is I don't have to be the fastest, I have to be the one who slows down the least, and that's really I know my body and I know what I'm capable of, and I believe that those 6-day races or those longer events like that could really be somewhere that I could show up and have a really good day, or days, I should say.
Yeah, 6 days.
Yeah, yeah.
Unbelievable. We always ask our guests at the end any advice for new runners, people who aren't like in the space where you're at. Somebody starting, wanting to run 5K, a half marathon. Brooke wants to run a half marathon. So I don't know. Any advice from,
Yeah, I would say from a coaching perspective, every single person that is running, whether they're getting into running, whether they've been running for a long time, is deserving of a coach. There are so many people that think that they shouldn't have a coach because they're just getting started, or that they're not good enough, or their coach is going to like laugh at them or make fun of them for what they can and can't do. That to me is it's the wrong coach if that's the case. Like everybody is deserving of a coach, and you can learn so much about yourself. Again, this idea of like having to do it alone. You don't have to do it alone. If you have the means, and I understand that not a lot of people have the means to have a coach, and it's a luxury, there's no doubt about it. But I do think it's something that people need to get into their mind, that they are deserving of it, and they should have one if they want it, and understand that they have this potential to learn so much in a shorter period of time and make it enjoyable. Because running shouldn't be this thing that you're just like, oh, I have to go for a 5K today. I say to the athletes I coach all the time, if the one thing that I can do for you is have you want to go for that run that you see on your calendar every day, then like that to me is enough. That you actually want to go and do it, and you're not you don't have to do it. Like we get to do this. Like this is one of those things, we get to do this. It's choice. It's ultimately up to us. Nobody's forcing us, and we're not being chased by large animals, right? Like we get to do these things. So treat yourself and give yourself the respect that you deserve. Of if you think that you want some support, like go find a coach. And to me, the personality, the fit, all of those things are the most important thing when it comes to coaching. So just make sure that you look around, you ask people, you talk to people, send DMs, make conversation, ask your fellow runners who their coaches are, really find the coach that works for you. And any self-respecting coach who isn't a right fit for you will tell you no and give you a referral to somebody else. And I think that's, there's the right coach for everybody out there.
I think that's a really great piece of advice. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm looking forward to watching some 6-day races from you.
Yeah, it'll be the dot that's been going in loops, that's for sure.
Hope you enjoyed that episode. If you get value out of it, please share it with a friend. It helps us so much. Comment, leave us a review, subscribe. You know all the things to do. We really appreciate you.